Welcome into More Important Issues. This is another episode of Vol Tales. This one, basketball. We've only had a couple basketball players on.
Yeah, it's always good to have some. I feel like football is year round pretty much, and basketball is kind of getting that way too.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like the focus is a lot on football, but it's great to have VFLs on here that played with this basketball program and has got it to where it is today.
Absolutely. This time we've got Jarnell Stokes on. He's a VFL. He arrived on campus and he's an early enrollee, which doesn't happen, mid-year enrollee, which doesn't happen a lot in basketball. We had one this past year though at Tennessee, and that's Santiago Vescovi. He was a mid-year enrollee before leaving after that 2014. We talk about it briefly at the end. That just I think he said it best, bullshit call
Yep.
against Michigan in the Sweet 16. But a guy that was the literal big man on campus when he was at Tennessee, and it's great to have him on. And he's very passionate about social injustice, and he talks a lot about that. We haven't talked about it much, and I think and it's what he said is sports have always been an outlet. He actually mentions that during the interview, and how it's usually this kind of getaway from reality. And but unfortunately, it's not all sports can be now, because there's a lot of people in the sports community that are being oppressed, and not necessarily in sports, sometimes in sports, but not necessarily. And it can't just be a getaway now. We have to make sure that everyone is being treated, their lives are being valued. They're being valued as humans outside of the athletic field. And he's very passionate, and we haven't talked about it yet, I think, because we want to make sure that we have the right perspective. And it's good hearing from someone that has that this is his reality. And he has a lot to say about it. And I think it's great too for this show, because we're talking about Tennessee athletics, to hear about some of those experiences at Tennessee.
Yeah, just to have a former athlete just kind of tell us, how it was then, and we can kind of let him know of how it is now, or how it's at least portrayed to us.
And he's going to call, and too, he talks about that at the end. He's still involved in the athletic department, and that's great.
Yeah, I think that's all you can ask for is, guys don't just come around to the program just because it's a good program. You come around the program because you're a part of that program. You're a part of it for those. He was there for 3 years, and he's still a part of it. That's awesome to hear. Just 17-year-old kid shows up on campus, and the heart of the SEC schedule coming up, and now he's years down the road, he's still a part of that same school that he got there when he was a young kid. So
right, and you talked about that. I want to, before we jump into the interview, I want to kind of talk about that. He talks about how when he arrived on campus, he was young. He didn't know. He knew these thoughts he had, but he didn't know how to portray them or how to convey them, and what they meant. And the fact that he's been able to, grow and learn, I think is a great representation of who he is as a person, and who the kind of the people who have helped him along the way as well. And I think that's one thing to remember as a fan when you cheer for these kids. First of all, their lives are far different than the majority of ours. And then they get onto campus. And it's funny, every single athlete we've talked about in depth about arriving on campus, they say the same thing. After the first week or the first night, they called their parents and they were like, get me the hell out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. And it's something to remember. They're dropping their entire lives to come to the University of Tennessee, and they need to be treated with respect and dignity beyond the athletic field, beyond the athletic facilities. And I'm glad that I didn't know we were going to talk about that. I'll be honest. And,
yeah, I didn't either. I thought we were going to talk about his experience,
and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's going to take, just more of those conversations to make change. And I think we've done a lot better job of just, not just everybody speaking at one time and arguing back and forth. It's to have a good conversation and listen to the opposite side.
Right. So there's a great interview with Jarnell Stokes about life, basketball, and social injustice, and I'm glad he's passionate about it. I think I think the world needs. He's a leader. I mean, people look up to him. He talked about in China how so many people desire just to be around him, and the world needs people like that. Needs his voice, and I really appreciate him coming on this show, Vol Tales, to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. check this out. Go check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Bet Now, and Hound Dogs. We'll have more episodes. I think we'll go kind of a weird schedule next week. I'm gonna be out of town, so we're gonna have some more Zoom episodes. Be on the lookout for that, and hopefully we get some more Vol Tales going. But this is the one with the walking double-double VFL Jarnell Stokes. Welcome onto the show, VFL 4 Jarnell Stokes. Jarnell, good to have you on, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, so happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to give back and share some of my enlightened side as well as who I am as an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stokes, I'm sure a lot of people know who you are. He was part of that 2012 class, was a mid-year enrollee. So that same thing that Santiago Vescovi did this past year as a 5-star recruit. So that he was kind of the guy who was like, hey, Tennessee can actually get 5-star recruits, and we can recruit Memphis. So he's out of Memphis, out of Southwind High School, was all SEC all 3 years. So really, really glad to have him on. He led the Vols to the Sweet 16 in 2014 under Quanzo Martin, and then was drafted 35th overall by the Utah Jazz, and then was traded that night to the Grizzlies. So got to go home.
Yep, got to go home, baby. That was one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Stokes, just tell us, how you got to Tennessee, what that recruiting process was like, and how did you make it to be a Vol?
Well, it all started. I mean, I hear you talk about 5-star recruits. I was once ranked number 3. I was also in the Olympics, so McDonald's, Jordan, all this stuff was just second nature, and it really started with Wayne Chisholm. You know what? Let me go back some more. It started with Peyton Manning and those guys, and Dale Ellis being able to Dale. I meant Bernard King. Even though I didn't watch him just being so involved with Tennessee and seeing how, alumni still can make a change there, that really just fell. But with that being said, I was recruited by Bruce Pearl. Secretly, I was already going to Tennessee, to be honest. And then secretly, I was going to Kentucky once Bruce Pearl left. So Coach Martin had to really step up to the plate, and we
dodged a bullet.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just so thrilled that right now, seeing Tennessee basketball where they are, that's really why I made my decision, to be honest. I wanted to resurrect a university that during my time period had died. Let's be honest. Like, it really was all about Tennessee football, and no one really paid attention. I mean, the games were empty. Some of my first few games, they started to blow up. So, I'd hate to take credit, but I really do take pride in seeing guys like Grant, because I know for a fact that I was probably one of the biggest reasons why he decided to come. And then, you see the guys who just won, just made it number 1 in the nation. I consider that a win. Personally, a lot of those guys respected me while I was at Tennessee. And with that being said, I think the rest is going to be beautiful at Tennessee, especially. And the reason why I'm about to say this is because I care. I care a lot about social justice. And I get this great feeling in my gut. I've talked to God about it. I've did my history. I understand the macro and micro of what's going on around the world. And I get this feeling that God is back for justice. So with that being said, I wonder why Tennessee, why the university, and I've always wondered this while I was there. A lot of athletes are wondering this, but I'm wondering why they aren't getting more involved with what's going on in the community. Mm-hmm. And personally, I think everything that hasn't been exactly great will come to light during this next decade. And I can see a huge shift in consciousness. So these universities better be careful. I'm just being honest. I'm warning them.
Yeah, I think Tennessee definitely has the right people in charge right now. I don't know if you saw I think it was last week that, Pruitt, backed his guys and just kind of led the march in Knoxville down in Market Square. And,
Wow, are you
yeah,
serious?
like
I
Trey
didn't see
Smith
that.
and Alontae Taylor and Kayron Calvert, just some of those guys were
Wow,
actually got to speak, and Jeremy Pruitt was right there with them, all
that's
mask and
beautiful.
all.
That's
So yeah, I
beautiful.
mean, I feel like Tennessee is definitely heading in the right direction, like you
All
said.
right, what about Rick Barnes? What has he done? Or the AD or compliance? Tennessee as a university, the chancellor, has he donated? I mean, how many?
Yeah, I don't know
Black people?
exactly what's been done. They did release a joint statement. Philip Fulmer released it, but as far as I don't even think Pruitt's really spoken publicly about it. He did speak at that rally for a brief minute, but he was there with the guys. And then I know David Ubben with the Athletic. He wrote a pretty good article on. They did have a meeting within the team. That's a pretty good article that kind of talks about what the football team is going to do, like you said, to be socially conscious and
Mm-hmm.
do their best. I mean, like you said, though, it's going to, I mean, a lot of these athletic departments not that it's been a non-issue lately, but it's been something they've been able to avoid. And they are going to have to meet it head on now.
Yeah, I mean, personally, just another early prediction, because you're right on. What's going on in the NBA right now? You see Kyrie, Carmelo, and Donovan Mitchell, a few other guys stepping up for social justice over basketball. My personal opinion is that I see Austin Rivers talk about, well, we can make money and give more. We're making the corporate more money, like literally 10 times more money. The numbers are extreme. The CBA contract may actually do us a little bit of justice being looked up. I'm just giving my opinion. Yeah. But with that being said, I hope people see through this and understand that it's bigger than just sitting on the couch and escaping reality. Sometimes it's good to dig deep and suffer. Because when I was playing with the Denver Nuggets, this was like 2 years ago. I hadn't been in the NBA since last year. I didn't play this year. I was in China. We were actually the number one team in the country before the pandemic broke out. But with that being said, when I was with the Nuggets, I literally got freaking just demolished. JaVale McGee, I was guarding him. I was playing the best game of my life. And then he did some dumb shit that JaVale McGee would do. And he stepped on my foot and did like a spin move that, like it didn't even work. He fell down, but I twisted and I ended up with a stress fracture. With that being said, I wasn't smart. I wasn't able to articulate myself. So I was just an athlete, like a lot of athletes right now, just sitting around wondering, like, damn, like, what do I do? You know what I'm saying? So I really suffered, and I appreciate podcasts like this so much. Like, we need more of this, because as an athlete at that time, I had so many theories. I understood life, and no one wanted to listen. Every media outlet was like, shut up and dribble, That's how it felt. All my friends, family was like, you must be depressed or something, And it turns out that I'm just different and blessed, and now looking back, suffering and getting to the truth without trying to prove an intention or being a free thinker versus left, right, blue, red, has really resurrected me. Now I have a production company, a music company, a superfoods business, a podcast. I'm able to do different partnerships with and sit at the table with different doctors. I mean, some of my best friends are doctors now. It's very, very weird how suffering can help. But I encourage everyone to just dig deep and seek the truth without trying to prove an intention. And I'm just a proven example. I used to fight. I was sitting in the back of the class. Teachers thought I was mentally educated. I realized that, I just learned different. And I was always taught and rolled out a ball and told that, just go play basketball, shut up, and this is the only way you will make it. And luckily, I'm one of the few that made it. And now I can provide more opportunities to the community, in which I wish the University of Tennessee would do. I wish more athletes would hold them accountable, because it's not about us. I care about that bleeding hand. It's not about red or white or blue or black. I care about that hand that's bleeding, calling for help. And this is why I join shows like this.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and you talked about that, you've been able to learn a lot, and that mostly because you had to step away from basketball, or at least look at a different, look at a different path from basketball. What was that at Tennessee specifically? What was that like? Were you able to get into the class? I mean, use that, ability. And unfortunately, athletes don't get paid. We know they should. We know the NCAA isn't doing the right thing. Were you able to sit down and, go into school with the thought of being an entrepreneur one day and looking at how you can kind of parlay that?
Yeah, I took it the wrong way. And I give credit to Rick Barnes and the guys at Tennessee today, because when we were there in Bruce Pearl, it was hard for us to conceptualize what's going on with the system. Like, why do we have so many fans, but I can't take my girlfriend on a date? It was hard. So a lot of times I would just say, you know what, Coach Martin, I hate you today. Just being honest. So I have to, whatever they're doing at Tennessee right now, the players really, really back the coach, and he must be a great guy. So with that being said, I didn't have the right mindset when I was there, so I couldn't really take advantage. I kind of victimized myself to where I thought it was the system, and I encourage people to back off that thought, even though there are some flaws in it, a lot of flaws, to be honest, and I'm hoping to fight those changes. It's definitely still opportunity for those who work hard, and maybe you just have to work 10 times harder. So, I was pissed. But now I'm the type of guy where I'll walk straight into compliance and go ask Bill Farmer, what's going on? Why can't, these brothers, we got billions and billions of dollars going to the university from TV deals, from ticket sales, from our influence. Why can't we help our brothers and sisters? Why can't we spend some of this money on cleaning up and hiring painters and cleaners to clean the communities, as opposed to buying more facilities for us to run in?
Right.
That type of stuff just really bothers me. So I feel like that's what I was here for. And I live in the world of social justice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do want to go back a little bit to, you did say that, you hope Tennessee's doing the right thing, but there's also a point where you actually picked Tennessee over Kentucky. You mentioned that. So what did Conzo Martin do to, sway you to pick Tennessee?
That is a great question, to be honest, because Coach Cal, he was so aggressive. He really, really wanted me there. He made me feel like I was going to be a pro, and he kept telling me, like, because I was being honest when I was like, Tennessee is my first option. But, I really like Kentucky, and then he swayed me. I actually said the words, like, if I had to choose today, I would go to Kentucky. And with that being said, I had to pick, 2 months later, and he was extremely vocal about the NBA in particular. He was very honest that if he told me, and this is his exact words, if you go to Tennessee, you may run the risk of being like the rest. Like, literally, that was something that kind of stuck with me while I was at Tennessee. I kind of regretted it because you would see trash players like Terry. I'm not going to say his name or any of the names, but you would see some players really make it and wonder, why the hell am I still in college basketball? Well, I just gave him 25 points and he put up 2 or 3 points,
Right.
It's but Kyle knew. He knows something that a lot of players that don't know today, and that's branding. And if you brand yourself with an NBA program, and I'm just happy now to see that Tennessee has made those changes, and I hope they continue to make those changes in the right direction. So I'm here to help them. I don't want to be the type of guy to, as a kid, I bullied the bully. It's important to know where my heart lies. I was the bully's worst nightmare. If you tried to hurt my friends, I was going to step up and say, hold on, y'all, I got this. So with that being said, I'm trying to look out for Tennessee, and I don't want to be that guy to hire 10 writers to write about how universities aren't stepping up for players or to hire a team of sales people to call leaders or recruits or players or coaches. I don't want to be that guy that attacks this evil system. So I'm trying to give them a warning and a heads up, and I hope they do the right thing to the community.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's done especially the past couple of years, they've done probably one of the best jobs that you can see of branding their players. Like, I mean, Trey Smith, I mean, you couldn't even really name offensive linemen 10 years ago on any team. And now he's the vocal leader of that team, and he plays one of the positions in sports where you don't get any credit. So I think they've done a great job of just giving their athletes a platform, especially during this, and letting them speak out. And then and not only that, but just like putting their face out there where, like, yeah, you can't get paid right now, but, people are going to know your name, know your face when you get to that level where you can make money.
I definitely understand.
I think that they should get paid. And it does suck that you're basically a celebrity while you're in Knoxville and you're not getting to make any money off of it. But that's the reality we're in, I guess.
Yeah,
like you said, there's a ton of flaws, but it's good that, and I'm sure Tennessee has a lot of issues to address as well as in going forward. But I think they're, Landon mentioned the branding they're doing. I think their Twitter specifically is, some of the best social media. It's how a lot of people recognize these names and faces. And you get to know the team, and like Landon, I mean, you know these guys. I mean, not just the Jarnell Stokes, but the other guys that maybe don't play as many minutes, and you get to see those faces. And
awesome.
And hopefully they can parlay that into some money later on, because unfortunately it's a system we live in, and hopefully there's some change soon. And the guys like you that are former players, those are the ones that are probably going to make the most impact at this point. Unfortunately, and it needs to change, the players don't have much of a voice in college basketball.
Yeah,
college
exactly.
Sports.
And that's what I'm kind of wondering. You talk about visibility. Are these players, what are they talking about?
There is a new podcast. I think it's just Vol Football.
Okay.
It's called The Slice, and they're getting a chance to go on and talk about their history and how they got to Tennessee, and if they've been at Tennessee for a few years, just their personal experiences, and then obviously their athletic experiences as well. I don't know as far as speak. Everything's changed so much in the last few weeks, and it's great to see a lot of these players are standing up and speaking. They should be allowed to speak. I hope there's no athletic departments in the country suppressing voices, but unfortunately there probably are. And I mean, they need to be doing the right thing. I don't think Tennessee's doing that as far as I can tell, but if it's happening, I'm with you. It needs to change.
Awesome, man. That's great to hear, because it is very important. Most of these universities run the city, like literally. And they forget about that. It's communities there when they invest in these multiple $million projects. So I've always sided with the guy getting bullied, and at the same time, I don't believe in being oppressed by a system. I think free thinkers can break out of it. So I'm glad to see that's happening with Tennessee. I would love for them to get more involved with, some of these bad omens that's going on. I don't know if Nashville is as important, but the KKK statue, giving back to, communities, of course, that would be, just a write-off. They could literally just have their taxes cover that. I know I have businesses, and I would also like for them to put more charismatic leaders. I'm not sure how many there are in college, because I wasn't charismatic when I was there, but there are certain points that would never get across with someone that doesn't have the right thinking. So I know if I know, Americanized culture like it is today, they would hire someone that isn't as intelligent to mislead the rest of the people. So I'm very conscious. Let me go and do my own research before I jump the gun. But I'm really just looking out for Tennessee, because if you've not done the right things, it'll all come to light in this next decade.
Right. And I mean, you mentioned how Tennessee was your favorite. You knew you were going there before recruiting even started. So you have a love
as a kid.
Yeah, you have a love for the university, and you hope they're doing the right thing. And I think that's all the Tennessee fans, and I assume the players too, are right now kind of hopefully the people that are involved are past hoping it'll do good, and they're going to help it do good. Because I want to root for a team that's good, but I also want to root for a team that's good. They're
good.
So it definitely helps. I'd rather lose and be know that they're doing the right thing than win and be some of these programs in the NCAA or in college football, college or NFL or NBA, things like that. So
1,000%, man.
Yeah, and 1,000%. When you were in school, did you have this thought? Was it? And I know I can't remember all what was going on through 2011, 2014. I'm sure there were some movements at at some point in that period. Was this something that you all talked about as a team or with coaching staff or anything like that, or were you aware of it? Because I think that's a lot of the things. Yeah. These guys get to college and they're kids. You get there, you're 17, 18 years old. This isn't something you've had to address in life. It's hard to completely start thinking that way. Did they help you, or did you start thinking it? Did you all talk?
Yeah, we didn't talk at all about justice issues. Coach Martin was very, indirect with a lot of his issues. So the thinkers got it. And with that being said, I definitely had these thoughts. I couldn't conceptualize, like you said. I was a kid. And also a lot of our voices and the people around us suppress it. It's like if we were to speak up, it's almost like we're told to shut up and dribble. Like, honestly, and it's indirect. It's indirect for sure. But just not being able to conceptualize led to a lot of anger. And, I do feel for those people who really don't understand. And sometimes it's good to just, put your head down. But at the same time, it's also a role and a responsibility that a university has to, step up and be the leader of the entire state. You know what I'm saying? That's why I went to Tennessee. I could have just went to Memphis and stayed home. Mm-hmm. I wanted to one day run for president. I want to run for governor of Tennessee. And I'm really starting to learn that I'm just not the right guy. They need bad people to run the system. So we need more people to step outside the box. And, I think with timing and the people who do good in this next decade, they're going to be the universities that rise up. Seriously. Right. I really have that prediction because in the past, it was looking pretty slim if you were trying to do good. I mean, ask the Son of God,
Right. Looking on the basketball side of things, what was it? So you came in, you're a mid-year guy. Were you? I think you were 17 the day you got on campus, right?
Yep.
What is that like? I mean, that's a flip the script type of moment. You're still probably one of the more intimidating physical guys, but it's a new mental game, and it is a little bit physically different because the guys are stronger than high school basketball or even AAU basketball.
Well, I'll tell you about my first day on campus. When I got to my dorm room, I was sharing a room with Yemi. I don't know if you know, that's my African teammate at the time. Okay. And I was fucking miserable. I called the coach, like, what the hell is this? So they gave me my own room, put 2 beds together, and, I still had to stay in the dorm room. Right. Surrounded by people, but at least I was a little bit free. I still had to share bathrooms with Yemi, but at least I had my own space. But then later that night, I didn't have enough food. I missed the little hall. They give us like what's that? I forgot. This is like where they eat. What's the name of that place? It's right by the gym. Pratt or something. I forgot.
Yeah. It's.
Y'all ate in Pratt,
like the student union?
Yeah. Okay. So we ate with the students, and I missed the time. So I didn't have anything to eat that night, and I didn't have any money to eat. So I was in tears. I knew right away that I would have to ask my mom for some dollars, And with that being said, I just grew into that anger, and I really couldn't conceptualize. Like, I was mad at certain fans for having money and supporting me being broke, you know, and the fans didn't even know why I wouldn't talk to them or why I would just go to certain sponsorship meetings and just, you know, close my ears, put my headphones in and walk out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was that type of person. And it was all from systematic oppression. So now it's so beautiful when a society can evolve past a system. And I hope Tennessee is ahead of that because it's happening.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think you should watch I think there's a video of them in Knoxville. I think it's great that like you take such a like that's like Tennessee, like Knoxville's your home, even though you're from Memphis.
Yeah.
But for 3 years or about 3 years this is your home. This is your community too. It's I think kind of people forget that these athletes come here like you said, you move into a dorm and then like you're kind of on your own to fend for yourself. And you're 17 years old. I mean, you just started driving a year ago. So I mean, there's that's a whole new world, and I think people forget that when they maybe see an athlete out that they're just like, hey, you know, they don't know what they're going through. They just see him on Saturdays or whenever the basketball game is. So I think Tennessee's heading the right direction where they are definitely supporting them and thinking of their players as more than just an athlete.
Awesome, man.
I don't know.
I'll continue to make sure too and push that pace.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they had this when you're at Tennessee, but they have that Vol Leaders where they have a couple athletes on each team kind of be a part of this program, and it kind of it definitely puts them in a better position to be a leader on their team, but also be a leader in the community and set them up for life.
Awesome.
To use that voice. So yeah, it's
awesome. Yeah, I guess a big issue I have, and I've done a lot of community work at Tennessee. I was that guy. I think you're talking. Yeah, you're definitely talking about the same Vol Leaders and also representing Volskers and being able the Big Brothers Big Sisters Club. What's going on? I think it's called Hoops Jam. I've attended a lot of sponsorships, and to be honest, you have to you have to have something to give it, you know. And
that's
I was in situations, you know, and put in situations where I felt like we were promoting the university. You know, we were just around taking pictures as athletes, showing up. Oh, let's just hug and kiss the kids because the camera's looking, and you know, wear all our Tennessee gear and let all the fans and, you know, everyone get riled up that we gave so much to this cause. I wonder how much we really gave to those kids. I know they say if you're just around, you give it, but I know some mindless leaders misleading the youth, and it's just a sight to see. So that's also something I want to be conscious about, that they aren't just doing it for the media, you know, really, really giving to the kids. And I did that for 2.5 years at Tennessee. So I hope to see change too. I personally hold the universities accountable. It's, you know, I went to Tennessee. I went to the entire community, all the people. That's what I represent. I don't represent black or white. So with that being said, sometimes us athletes just live in, now I'm talking athletes, us athletes just live in the university and don't see that, you know, what really happened. I mean, it's so much history in Tennessee, and it's so beautiful and hard to take at the same time, but it's all worth it. It grows your spirit. And right now, there's one thing that's different from the times, you mentioned it earlier, when I was back, you know, Trayvon Martin, he was a big guy that a lot of people was marching for when I was back in college. Actually, you look at my Facebook page, I haven't touched it since I left Tennessee, and the headline says, "I am Trayvon Martin," with me in a hoodie looking down. You know, I always had that in me, but that's all I could do. That's all I had to give. And I just say that to say that this Black Lives Matter movement is different, because now we have the people on our side. Like, people are saying election year, they're just using you. The Democrats just want to get the black people all riled up so they can vote. You know, it's definitely some of that going on for sure.
Right.
You see what Nancy Pelosi did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the unfortunate part. You always have the bad people in it for the wrong reasons. You were kind of talking about those people earlier, but there's a ton of good in this movement, and that's the good. It is encouraging that we're
and the
growing.
Best thing that's encouraging on top of that is that we have people's spirits and people's minds and souls. It's like power and unity. You always hear it's strength and unity, but now we're about to see it. You know, it's different because back then, you know, everyone was so focused on, you know, grabbing my beer with my friends. Let me, you know, go cut on some Tennessee sports. You know, let me, you know, watch, you know, BET in my community. And now people have to face the truth. They can't watch LeBron. And this is a different movement where I actually went and protested, and I cried. I cried, man. A big-ass dude like me, 6'9", 260, cried. Because it was my parents' vision. It's like I get to see what my aunts and uncles and great-grandparents just never even thought was possible. So I thought I was showing up to a Black Lives Matter. I showed up to a Mexican, white, all type of lives matter, you know? Yeah. And it made me feel like, wow, like God is back for justice because now he's uniting the people. That's how every system got taken down. And this is different because now only God can sway the minds and the souls of the people and change consciousness. You know, only a system can make people react emotionally, but we're talking about a consciousness of an entire generation. I cried, man. It was beautiful. Seriously, I love to see this. It's going to take some, you know, Walmart lootings and some dumb people to react. I mean, it's like my ex-girlfriend. You know, she broke my heart as soon as I found love. She shitted on me, you know? Yeah. And now she got to deal with karma and those slutty men that's going to get her back. So, you know, when I talk to Walmart and Wendy's, all this crap you put into the world, now you got to deal with the slutty men.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's funny. That's a good way to put it. I think it's unfortunate. I mean, I think everyone can establish that it's unfortunate that's happening, but the fact that people are waking up now, it's, you know, if something positive comes from it, hopefully we can grow. Hopefully we can learn. And that's, you know, that's the bottom line. You mentioned everyone uniting, and unfortunately, I don't think it's every athletic department and school across the country. If it's not been shut up and dribble, it's at least, you know, been like, well, let's not talk about that today. So seeing Tennessee willing to meet it head on. So in that David Ubben article I was mentioning earlier, they're planning on getting the guys, the next march they do, they're planning on at the end going and registering the guys to vote that aren't registered.
Wow.
And that's something that's important to me.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah, it should be important to every athletic department.
Yeah, send me that article, man, after this.
I will, yeah. I'll have Landon. I think he's got your number. I'll have him text it to you. But it's, you know, the fact that, because those guys, you're celebrities when you're on campus in Knoxville and beyond. So if those guys are willing to stand up and, you know, change or, you know, enact change, it's going to happen. So it's great that these guys are getting at least their voice.
Yeah, seriously, man, that's so big. Honestly, I'm not going to vote. I know as an athlete, I was always taught not to talk about politics, but I'm honestly not going to vote. I'm going to look more under the hood of Joe Biden. I've already decided that Trump. And I looked into him as a kid. I mean, I sit at the table with psychiatrists and doctors at Harvard. You know, and they break down what's really going on. It all stems from childhood. I mean, we have to have compassion that this man got his ass beat by his dad a lot, and he couldn't really get his voice out, you know? So he always felt as if he was the underdog, his little man's home, and he feels the need to prove and power as opposed to give opportunities to people. Why a leader like this won't just unite with all people and rise up and use all our past as a callus to heal and respect each other. I mean, that's what I do. I embrace conflict as a leader and CEO in my companies because, I mean, that's when people listen the most, and then you usually rise up and understand each other and work harder. But With this being said, I personally want to raise the question of why we don't look and give other smaller parties a chance. I mean, how many parties are there?
Yeah, that's the issue with the two-party system is there's
Mm-hmm.
more that, it's past just Democratic and Republican, but unfortunately that's what everybody gets caught up in. So it's
Yeah.
I think that's something else that you've talked about how much is changing
The
in the
pack.
next decade. It's going to be changing the next decade. So hopefully, I should say, hopefully it takes a lot
hopefully, right.
It takes a lot to dismantle a system, but like you said, everybody's uniting. So we just have to we have to hope that we adapt in a positive way. I think that's just make sure you talked about how everyone just be compassionate moving forward. I think that's because I think a lot of individuals want to get involved, but unfortunately, it's you can be involved, but I think a lot of people want to be the voice of the movement, and that's just not everyone's position.
Honestly, and you guys will be blessed for doing podcasts like this and giving out viewpoints as opposed to the typical. I know for sure, as a businessman, you have to meet people where they are sometimes, but just being able to allow me to talk about this, even if it reached 100 or 10 people, you guys will be blessed for this. So I appreciate you for just being open and real with the times.
We appreciate you. I do want to ask you what's going on in your basketball career. I know you mentioned you are sounds like you're a really busy guy. But I know everybody would like to know what's going on in your basketball career right now.
Yeah, well, I still go to the gym every day. I work out very hard. I run a mile. I do everything to challenge my mind more so than anything first and foremost than a job. As far as with basketball, with business, I've created systems to where I don't have to be present for anything. I actually just handle the business side and partnerships and being able to play as an investor, but really I'm an owner. With that being said, on the basketball side, I've freed up a lot of time, and I've really, really worked on my three-point shot. I was one of those guys that was stuck in the past. I grew up watching, I'm a grit and grind guy. I grew up watching Zebo, and ironically, I got drafted to that system,
Yeah.
And it's an old system at the time where I was stuck, and I thought that I could rebound my way into the league and, do certain post moves, of course, when I get the ball, but, set hard screens. But it's proven that, it's time to get real with the times. And sometimes it's best to get ahead of the times, even in my world, in the basketball world. I wasn't ahead of the time. So, poof, that guy's gone. And, just going back to University of Tennessee, that's just an analogy for them. But at the same time, I'm doing everything I can now. And I've been blessed to be able to go over and play China basketball where the fans just treat me like freaking LeBron over there. Seriously, I see fans
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, they like literally. People fall out when they see me for some reason, and people after games once I go out and sign autographs, everyone's trying to touch my hair. I'm like stop. But I really
it is some good hair. So I understand.
Yeah, they just want to get a little dread snipped for a souvenir.
Exactly. No, they really do. Seriously, man. And I respect the hell out of a lot of the Chinese because they're very, very good people. And, they just respect me and they've given me light. And just in basketball, I've been blessed with being able to get the ball 40 times a game. So with that being said, I was one of the leading scorers. I was the best player on the best team. I'm not going to say I was the best scorer or best player, but whatever that counts for, I was able to lead the team. And now that's helped me as a leader. That's helped me be able to shoot the ball more, dribble the ball more, and develop my game to where now, hopefully, and when I was with the Grizzlies last year, sadly, just a quick story, I was there for like a month, and Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, Marshawn, his name, Marshawn, and Chandler Parsons, all four of them got left the team in the same week, and they needed a guard. How how sad is that I had to be released and sent back to China just because 4 guards left the team. Like where does that happen?
Yeah, it's nuts.
So it was very weird, and I was doing great with the Grizzlies. If you look at my numbers just with their G League team, and you ask the team about me, everything would be great. But I was putting up like 20 and 15 in like 18, 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That's MVP numbers. It was just so weird that that happened. But I'm able to go to China and start a business as well. I'm also able to work on a lot of things that I just never could do under the system here, where I'm labeled as a rebounder because of what I, did with the Grizzlies. So I'm going to fight it. I'm an NBA player in my mind, and I'm going to fight it. And now my IQ is higher because I've grown in other areas. Now I can dribble more. I can shoot more. I'm also still able to, play my bully rebound role. But I just lost 20 pounds during quarantine because mentally I'm in a space.
You went the opposite direction of everybody else.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Because, mentally I'm in a space where I'm just pushing myself in every direction. It's not just spiritually, not just for social justice. It's for health, too. I'm not just losing this weight for basketball. It's for my own good. And I want to preach. I want to speak. I don't want to just be that speaker that, is a motivational speaker. I fucking hate those guys. To be real. I want to live what I'm talking, what I speak. And, showing that I lost 20 pounds is another way to show that, I have a superfoods business and this is the way, as opposed to, what we've been taught.
That's awesome. I'm excited because, you talk about the Chinese and how, like, they treat you like LeBron. And then if you add that three-pointer, there's nothing more exciting than basketball than a big man three-pointer.
I know, right?
So I'm sure they're going to go even more nuts.
What's weird, 10 years ago, didn't we call these guys tweeners? Like, if you were a four-man who didn't shoot the ball, but you could do you were versatile, or you were a 4-5, and didn't have a position, you were called a tweener. But now it seems like the tweeners are the ones making the money,
Yeah, the game's shifted quite a bit. It's been wild to see, and fast, too.
Yeah. I think Draymond was a big one that because he was one of those kind of tweeners. Even Grant, like when he was coming out of UT, that was kind of the knock on him. It was just like he
watched me.
Yeah, he was about the same person. He's around 6'7", 6'8". He's probably a little bit.
He learned from me.
Yeah. And
that makes sense on the rebounding part. Then you got that common, the bully rebound. That was my favorite part of Jarnell Stokes' game in Tennessee. You knew he was getting double-digit rebounds. You knew it was going to happen.
Walking double-double.
Good for Grant, man. That's so great. Because I was always trying to fight being a tweener. That was the last thing I wanted people to think was that where I'm from, if you shoot threes and you 6'9", 265, 270 pounds, now I'm like 250, but you're soft. You're weak.
Right.
I had to fight that. So that's why I was so tough, because where I was from. And, it kind of bit me in the ass since the NBA today. But now it's a flip side to it. It's all a flip to it now. Guys are softer. So if I can just make a little bit of adjustment and relate a little more to the NBA, I'm going to even be able to get more rebounds, because this new generation, I tell you, man, a lot of these guys don't have it where it counts, but they're very skilled and talented. So, it balances out.
Right. Yeah, and it's not like, probably even a couple years ago when the Warriors kind of made this whole 3-point game, like that's what it's come to now. It's like you got to compete that way. You got to shoot your way to the top, and that's what the Rockets and other teams are implementing. So yeah, it's probably going to be a lot easier getting rebounds because you're probably going to be the only one down there.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So it's opportunity and a change as well, and it's all how you look at it. It's perception. Just like people who look at the system and say, "Oh shit, I don't have a chance." It's like, shut up, man. Get in the lab. Like that's how you should think about it, and it'll all come, in due time.
And even y'all's so your junior year when y'all went to the Sweet 16, y'all were playing in that first 4 games. Y'all played Iowa in the first game. The year before that, you went to the NIT and lost in the first round. So, that team coming into next season, looking back, there's a ton of talent on that team. And that team, you could definitely argue that Michigan game was bullshit. But
it was. Y'all should have been in the Elite Eight. You should have been in the Elite Eight.
Seriously.
It's that simple.
But
seriously, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I really do.
You always have a shot.
1,000%. 1,000%. And, I look back at that team and I just think about how much more we could have done. We were so great and a lot of us were undervalued at the time. And, just being that even Coach Martin as a coach today, he's now respected. He wasn't back then. And, a lot of us players bailed on the community of Knoxville just because of how they treated our coach.
Right.
So, we could have done a lot more together and unified for sure.
Well, Jarnell, we appreciate you hopping on. We appreciate your time and getting to hear about basketball and about, your feelings on social injustice. And it's great to hear from someone like you. Like we said, you're a celebrity in Knoxville. People respect you and your voice. And I think they're going to enjoy hearing what you have to say about what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and with everything that our country's facing right now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I appreciate it. And again, man, we need more athletes like you. I was once hurt as an athlete, and there are a lot of athletes right now to this day sitting at home with thoughts, with ideals and expressions and can't get it out because of most of the media care about the culture as opposed to, our minds and who we are as people. So I respect you guys for just keeping it real and doing both, man. I
feel like as a country we're kind of evolving. It's not just like I'm talking. It's like everybody's talking, everybody's listening. I feel like that's and that's what this is. That wasn't an easy conversation probably to have with people that probably don't have the same political views and stuff like that. But it's a conversation that needs to be addressed. So really glad that we come on here for Tennessee, but hey, we can talk about whatever. That's the good thing about having your own show is you can talk about whatever you want to.
Exactly, man. So I'm going to call Rick Barnes. I'm going to actually try to get in contact with Farmer or his right-hand man. I forgot his name. I met with him before. And I'm going to also try to reach out to the football coach, Pruitt, and really try to get them to understand as opposed to force patrol and dominate. I want to make sure I don't be a bully like Trump is doing right now. And, it's important to get people to understand. So with that being said, I will report back to you guys on how that conversation goes. And hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, awesome,
absolutely.
Man.
We appreciate the time.
Rooting for you, too, to get back in the NBA.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Sure will.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.